It's just about a week until Election Day, and conventional wisdom at this point is that this is a three-way race for the top two spots. Democrats Xavier Becerra and Tom Steyer and Republican Steve Hilton are all gunning to advance to the general. Steyer, the billionaire environmentalist, has shattered spending records, funneling an unprecedented nearly $200 million into the race. But is that enough to convince voters? Let's ask him now. Tom Steyer, thank you so much for being here.
Joey, thank you so much for having me.
Only 8% of ballots statewide have been returned. What is your message to undecided voters in this home stretch?
Look, I have a very simple message, which is that I am the person who is representing working people in this state against corporate special interests. I am the person who represents change, who knows that Californians too expensive for California's too expensive for Californians, and I'm determined to make real structural change so that people can afford to live here again, so they can afford to buy houses, so we have great public schools, and so that the California dream will be revived. I am the change agent that the corporations are scared of.
What do you say to skeptics who feel like you could have spent that money directly making change rather than on attack ads and running for office?
Look, I've spent 15 years working for working Californians, fighting for working Californians, and fighting to protect the natural world. I believe that we're at a critical time in California where we need a governor who will stand up for working people, who will stand up for single payer, who will build houses and drive down the cost of housing, who will take on the electric monopolies and drop electricity prices for working Californians, and who will take on the oil companies and institute a windfall profits tax and give it back to Californians. California is too expensive. We need someone who will change things and who will take on the corporate interests that think they own this state. And I'm the person who's doing that.
Why should Californians who are struggling to pay their rent trust that a billionaire is going to be able to empathize with their plight?
Well, let me say a couple of things about that, Joey. First of all, I travel this state more than any other candidate. I meet more Californians. Everybody knows the issues. I listen across this state to what people are dealing with. And I'm someone who's gotten results. I built a business from nothing in one room with no windows to a $38 billion business. And I walked away from it 14 years ago to represent and work for working Californians. So you can look at my record. I've beaten these big corporations, oil companies, tobacco companies, multinationals at the ballot box 3 times. I have registered 1.2 young Californians to vote so we could have a more representative democracy. My wife and I worked for years and put together a coalition to get free breakfast and free lunch for every school in California. What Californians need is less talk and more results. And I'm the person in this race who's gotten results and who is absolutely willing to take on the corporations who are driving up everybody's costs and don't want to change anything, because that's why they're making record profits.
If you have the opportunity as governor to fix one thing about California, what would it be? Healthcare.
We need single payer healthcare. We need healthcare to be a right for every Californian, and it has to be affordable for the families, affordable for the businesses, and affordable for the state. So we don't have a choice. You know, I'm the person who is saying on day one, we start working towards single payer healthcare, and we don't stop until we get it.
If that hasn't happened yet, why are you confident that you're the person who's going to be able to bring that to fruition?
You know, it's funny, Joey, because when I took on the oil companies back in 2010, everybody said we were crazy. And my partner, George Schultz, said, Tom, we're not going to beat the oil companies. We're going to smash the oil companies. And we did. And the same thing happened when we took on the tobacco companies in 2016. The legislature hadn't been able to get it done for 20 years. And we got that done. Look, I'm someone who's been able to get results and not stop until we get results. And that's what I'm saying to the people of California is this. I have no conflicts. Xavier Becerra is taking money from every corporation, from Chevron to Meta to the people who are opposed to single payer. I am not taking money from any of those people. I have only one interest, the working people in this state getting a fair break, being able to afford to live here and live the California dream. So I really think this is a straightforward choice for Californians at this point, which is, who are you going to go for? The billionaire fighting for working people, or are you going to go for the career politician fighting for billionaires and big corporations?
Let's keep talking policy. You have been promising to cut electricity rates by 25%. Can you detail exactly how and when Californians would feel that relief?
I'll tell you how. I'm going to do it in two different ways. The Californian electric companies are legal monopolies. That's why we pay twice as much as the average American pays for electricity. It's not like the sun doesn't shine here. It's because they're legal monopolies. I am going to change the way that the Public Utility Commission regulates the electricity monopolies, and I'm going to make it possible for local competition so we can drive down costs.
Are you going to have the support in Sacramento to do that?
Well, first of all, the governor gets to control the makeup of the Public Utilities Commission. And second of all, I think it's going to be very hard for anybody in this state to say that the people of California don't have a right to create local, to generate, to store, and to distribute local electricity. All over this state, people are furious about electric rates. They're furious at these electric monopolies. And I believe that when we make it clear how it will work, the people in the legislature will be very excited to pass it.
You have called for data center reforms. Does that include those fueling AI, and how would you regulate that industry?
Well, so the data centers are all about artificial intelligence. The data centers are what makes artificial intelligence companies capable of doing the billions of computations they need to come up with their answers. And those artificial intelligence companies are worth hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars. And what I've said is there's absolutely no excuse for letting a $1 trillion company come into a community and raise the electric rates of the working people who are there, or to take the water. They need millions of gallons of water to cool those data centers because they're running so many calculations to take water from those communities that they aren't willing to give up. So it has to be a good deal for the community. These are really, really rich companies. They're frantic to build these data centers because they're in a race to see who builds the biggest first AI company. And therefore, we have to make sure that the communities are protected. We just do. It's not right for $1 trillion companies to be taking advantage of working people or working communities.
You have a very ambitious plan to build 1 million new homes. How realistic is that?
Extremely realistic. As you know, Joey, and I will say to anybody watching who cares to go on tomsteyer.com, we have a very detailed plan. And it includes a lot of things that people talk about: permitting and zoning. We need permits to be much faster, much less expensive, many fewer of them. We need zoning. I believe in building densely around public transportation. But then there's some things that we're going to do that other people haven't been talking about, including new technologies of constructing materials offsite, assembling onsite, that drive down the cost by a quarter. We're talking about using the balance sheet of California. My wife and I started a nonprofit community bank that has made 17,000 low-income housing loans. I believe we should be using the balance sheet of the state of California, not just to provide subsidized loans, but also to provide down payment assistance so that people can do it. That's new. And the last thing I'd say is this: the counties of this state are not anxious to permit housing, because every time they permit housing, they are on the hook. They are responsible for the education and health services for the people who live in those new units. And what I've said is, on day one, I'll call a special election to close a corporate tax loophole that's worth $20 billion to the state of California that will go to the counties. And that money will be the way of saying to them, we're going to build housing. We're going to build 1 million units, but we're not asking you to do it and with money you don't have. We're going to be providing the money. So this goes from being an unfunded mandate to a funded mandate. And when I have talked to people from the counties or mayors. They have said that completely changes the picture. And there's no one else, Joey, there's no one else running for governor who's talking about how they're going to pay for the things they're promising. I'm being very realistic and very honest. I'm the person in this race who's saying, I will make the billionaires like me and the big corporations pay their fair share.
Could that drive corporations out of California?
I'm the only one talking about revenue. Absolutely not. If you look, I have closed I've taken on the corporations on taxes and gotten billions of dollars for Californians, either for education or healthcare, every time, and nobody's ever left the state. If you look at what I'm proposing in terms of closing this corporate tax loophole, it basically is they're paying corporations, big corporations, are paying real estate taxes based on 1970s values. That's crazy. And as I like to say, Disney, which is a multi-$100 billion company, is not going to move Disneyland to Austin, Texas, Miami, Florida, or Las Vegas, Nevada. No one's going to leave the state based on this. I am a very practical person, and I'm talking about shared prosperity. But if you want to share prosperity, you need prosperity. I am very practical to make sure I'm Team California. I want us to win on everything. And the last thing I want to do is make it harder for the businesses in this state to succeed. I just want to have people paying fair shares of taxes.
When we have spoken in the past, you told me you needed to learn more about the Tijuana sewage crisis here. I know you came and toured the river valley. What did you learn, and would you commit to declaring a state of emergency?
Let me start by saying I would declare a state of emergency. Absolutely. What I saw was that the Tijuana River is bringing several different kinds of pollution on a daily basis into Imperial Beach, California, which is the town at the very southernmost tip of California. And what that's meant is it's a health crisis for the people who live there for a variety of reasons. It's dangerous to their health. They have also had the beach in Imperial Beach closed for 4 years. And I happen to be spending this Memorial Day in Santa Cruz and Capitola enjoying the beach. And let me say, it is a state of emergency. I don't understand why that hasn't been declared. We absolutely need to make sure we ensure the health of the people in that part of California. It's a low-income Latino population and community. And I believe this is a very straightforward example of environmental injustice. I always say, if Malibu Beach were closed for 4 years, would people call it a state of emergency? I think they would. And I think this is wrong. And I definitely think we need to build treatment plants to make sure, in conjunction with the Mexican government, to make sure that the people in the southern part of California are safe, and to make sure that we preserve that incredible coastline that is, one of the great, beautiful assets of this state, and the people down there deserve to enjoy it just like everybody else.
Both your campaign and Xavier Becerra's have been mired in some controversy about paying influencers to publicly boost your campaigns. Is there anything your campaign should have done differently, or is this the new frontier of political advertising?
I don't think we've done anything. I wouldn't do anything differently. The truth is, 1 out of 5 citizens gets their information from influencers about politics. And the people who are working with us because they believe in our message, they believe in our policies, and they choose to. We pay them for their time, that's it, and we disclose it completely. This is absolutely, I'm proud of what we're doing, honestly. And I'll say this, if you look at what we're doing, we're completely transparent about it. Every piece of information you get is from public filings. And what Becerra's campaign is doing, what they have been doing, is using bots secretly to pretend that they're actual people who are supporting him and attacking us. And that is the kind of thing that is, that's the opposite of transparent.
Your campaign is being investigated. Do you think that's going to yield any wrongdoing?
Absolutely not. We haven't done anything wrong. We are absolutely obeying the letter of the law, and we don't pay anyone for endorsements, but we do work with We do work with these creators and pay them for their time. And that's something that people were asked to disclose, and so we have.
Your campaign has come under fire for some hedge fund investments in the past into fossil fuels and prisons now being used to house undocumented people. Do you regret those investments? And if so, how do you prove that to voters?
Look, 22 years ago, our investment company bought stock in a private prison company. 21 years ago, I realized that was a terrible mistake and we got rid of it. And in the subsequent time, I have worked very hard, both in terms of moving California from a state of mass racist incarceration to the idea of rehabilitative justice. And that has taken many turns, including making sure that California has no relationship with private prison companies, with making sure that we get rid of what are called sentence enhancements, which are absolutely unfair, working to decertify officers who misbehave, working for bail reform, actually changing the way that prisoners are treated within prisons. Look, and in terms of, let's say this, the leading rehabilitative justice organization in the state of California is called Smart Justice. And Smart Justice endorsed me and nobody else for governor. And the reason they did that is I have a very long history, both of working for rehabilitative justice, working for treatment, trying to make sure that people who are incarcerated are prepared to go back into society, to become productive citizens, not to commit another crime and be incarcerated. And that's something we've worked on very diligently for a long time. So let me say this. I made a mistake. Of course, I regret making a mistake, and I've said it was a mistake. But I didn't just make a mistake and say I was sorry. I've worked for years to make sure that I more than made up for it by making sure that the people who are incarcerated actually are treated differently by the state of California, that our whole understanding of how that system is supposed to work has progressed. And I think that I've been recognized for people who you couldn't pay to and get them to endorse you because I've worked on it for so long and so consistently.
Finally, historically, Californians do not reward ultra-wealthy candidates self-funding their campaigns. Why do you believe you're going to be the exception?
You're comparing me to people who left their job one day and started campaigning the next day. I've been doing this full-time for 14 years. I've been working for Californians successfully, bringing results for Californians full-time for 14 years. I think that's really different. I understand why people are skeptical about billionaires. I watch some of these people misbehave, be selfish, be, totally self-absorbed, and I feel the same, negative reaction that everybody else feels. But let me say this, I have been working on this full-time, and I have gotten results for Californians. And there is no reason I would be doing what I'm doing or standing up for what I'm standing for if I didn't believe it. I'm the only candidate who's taking on these corporations. And the reason that it's meaningful is they're spending tens of millions of dollars to stop me, and they're not spending a penny against anyone else. They are supporting Xavier Becerra down the line because they believe that he's not going to do one thing to hurt them, that he is going to keep the status quo. He is the status quo candidate. I'm the change candidate. I'm the only person in this race who's saying he's going to take on the corporate special interests. And I am. And so Californians know that's completely different from anything. I'm surprised, to be honest, Joey. I thought other people would be competing to do the right thing. And I am honestly surprised that we have a career politician who's fighting for corporations and for billionaires. I thought they would be fighting to do the right thing, to represent working Californians to get their votes. And that's not what I'm seeing. So I see this as a very straightforward race where I'm the person bringing change to Californians who can't afford to live here anymore.
Tom Steyer, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.